The other point for business is the corporate social responsibility plan. Now, many businesses view CSR these days as core to their philosophy. They did so because kids leaving university could choose the companies they wanted to work for. It was no longer the companies interviewing them, they were interviewing the companies. They wanted to invest their talent with what they were as individuals. And if a company had values other than simply production, they liked that. So the companies had to put on a sort of talent show of themselves, and that's no bad thing. But frankly, in reality, and I know lots of you do CSR, is it in truth any more than a sideshow or a bolt-on? CSR is about the role of business in society and the recognition that this can't be just confined to economic questions and financial returns. It's important because it mirrors the core values of our society, or at least it should, the society in which we live and in which the business operates. The problem is that most businesses are by definition driven exclusively by profit maximization, and there's no harm in that. It's just that what happens when profit and CSR don't go together? When the demands of the marketplace and the interests of society are in conflict? Well, nearly every time, experience shows that, of course, profit wins out. Because if managers were to accept reduced profit in order to promote social welfare, the owner would justifiably feel cheated and consider corporate social responsibility as, in fact, corporate financial irresponsibility. And they wouldn't be wrong. That's not what they set out to do. Advocates of CSR tend to talk about the triple bottom line of financial, social, environmental sustainability. But ultimately, one bottom line calls the shots: profit. But profit, like the money I talked about, is an amoral agent. Having it is not the problem. It depends on how you use it. That's what turns money into good stuff or bad stuff. Profit is just maximizing that ability. Business, charity, politics, nah. There's a thing missing. How do we address the problem? After all, money is a serious business, especially if you don't have any. What's missing in the system? Well, Josh referred to it earlier when he talked of social business. What is it? He explained that, in effect, it's cause-driven rather than profit-driven. Now, I've got to tell you, when I hear this stuff, I fall asleep too. You know, hey, the cause. What's your cause today, Bob? Shut the fuck up. But this is kind of different. As I said, I do quite a lot of business. In a social business, the company must earn a profit, but the investors who support it don't take the profit. It's ploughed back into growth or benefits for its intended recipients. Investors, however, get their investment out first. So you invest in it, it makes profits, it goes back in, but you get out first from the initial profits. These companies will be judged by only one criteria: do they create social benefit for those whose lives they touch? Now, you can think of it as a small sort of hick thing. You can think of these sandwiches, the social bite thing, as a small deal. Well, why shouldn't that be as big as Pret? Why not? I know the guys who own Pret. If I said to them, do this, but it's not specifically for you to make profit. Yes, you'll make big bucks as the director, as the CEO, but it's to drive it back. Why wouldn't that product do just as well? Could. Then the next question is, why would you do it? Because I want to. Who do that? Lots of people. I'll come to it. It's not charity. It's a business in every sense. It has to recover its full cost while achieving its social objective. It's a business enterprise with products, service, markets, expenses, revenues, but with the profit motivation principle replaced by the social benefit principle. It's non-loss, but also non-dividend. So why would you invest in it? Well, I think for exactly the same reason of personal satisfaction or belief that people get from their own jobs or philanthropy. I'm referring to Tom all the time because I know him. Ask Tom, does he get the same satisfaction from building giant businesses to what he does in Africa? I haven't asked him, but I bet you yes and more. Or else why would he do it? He's that type of guy, just go, entrepreneur. Indeed, the satisfaction may be greater since the company they created will continue to work for the social benefit for more and more people without ever stopping, and long after they recoup their original investment. It's self-sustaining, self-propelling, self-perpetuating, and self-expanding. It's a business. And people find it exciting. I know this because of Africa. Civil servants who've retired now donate their skills, their time, to go and work on the diaries of some of the ministers in Africa. Blair spends a lot of his time advising the Sierra Leonean government, the Rwandan government. Mainly what they do is advise ministers how to work their diaries, how to work a bureaucracy. They've never had one. And they don't really have the taxable income to provide for a serious one. So they send down people who've done it here. And they sit with them and show them how to run their office. Run your office, you can run the ministry. Run the ministry, you run the law. Things start happening. I know. This private equity fund I'm doing, we're going where corporate law works. Where corporate law works, the government works. Capital will only go where it's safe. Where the government is safe, where law is safe, capital is safe. People find it exciting to leverage their own business skills and creativity to solve social problems. Why wouldn't you invest in this thing? They remain owners of their companies and can help decide its future course of action. Now, who'd do this? I suppose lots of you would, but you're too busy trying to get money for the kids or the holidays or for stuff. Yeah, not a problem. But as Josh said, can the big companies run a parallel? That's one thing. Can some of you break away and set one up? Yeah. Can you get other guys who want to do this stuff? Absolutely. But beyond that, it's the same people who donate billions every year to charity. The same people who just don't want to live in a world of unnecessary disease, poverty, corruption, conflict, or inequality. Of course you'd do it. The people who create foundations, charities, NGOs, non-profits, the people who volunteer for community service, and who in some cases decide to devote their careers to low-paid work in the social sector. They're not thick. They just decided that's what they want to do. They're not saints. They're not heroic. They're not the tabloid angels of lore. They just decide that's what they want to do. Satisfied, satisfaction in their life. Good, well done. Who else? Entrepreneurs, sure. Leading business giants, geniuses who lift their eyes and snouts from the bonus trough. They'll do it. Some of them would spend that ill-earned bonus on these things. Great. That's cool. People like Josh, 25, organised this, organised the awards. He's on the way. Social bites. Probably work. The Social Business Foundation, a sort of incubator for other people who want to do this stuff, advice, possibly getting in investors and funding others. Social gigs. He said to me, why wouldn't I go with him to promote gigs as opposed to another promoter? If he can do the same job, I don't care, so long as I'm paid. If he wants to put his profit back into the business, that's cool. Just give me my fucking money. But that's the principle. Social supermarkets, why not take on Tesco? Why not? It's not that there's anything evil about them. They're big. Fuck it. We can take you on. The more big you are, the more vulnerable you are. Why not source local products, local produce? Why not support the farmer? How do Tesco force down the prices of their products? How do they impose cheap prices on the dairy farmers and the meat farmers and the wheat? How do they? Why is it we have to subsidize the farmers so that Tesco get cheap food, so that we buy that cheap food? It's great for us. We've never been healthier because of this cheap food. Daily and nightly, flights from all over the world arrive. I hear them. I live in fucking Battersea. And the next morning, fresh from Fiji, there's your kiwi fruit. I mean, it is miraculous. It's an amazing system, global system, fucking up the planet, but I get my kiwi. So you can have that, and the social supermarket can still do it, but why not? Pay a decent price to the local guy, which will force Tesco to stop their oppressive pricing regime, and maybe you'll get decent food. As Josh said in his briefing to me, the food is frankly shit. Yes. Social close. It goes on and on. Of course it could work. Of course it could. Will it be giant? Possibly. The co-ops are big. Credit unions are big. John Lewis, huge. Still going up. Peter Jones, huge. This is one more. One of my countrymen and fellow skeptic, although I never sound like a skeptic, believe me. George Bernard Shaw said, all change comes through the power of unreasonable people. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable persists in adapting the world to himself. Now, most entrepreneurs are unreasonable people. I would say this room is packed with unreasonable people. And judging by the fact and the way you're dressed tonight, I can absolutely assure you you're definitely unreasonable people. Nobody in their right mind would wear some of the outfits you've got on tonight. Josh is an unreasonable young man. And he needs quite a bit of help with this thing. It's a great experiment. He got a bit bullish and a bit nationalistic about how Scotland will lead the planet in this great crusade of social business. But actually, why not? It's an unreasonable request, but that's what works. What you need, as you well know in your own lives, as you well know in your careers, to get there, to do it, commitment. What you understand in your own relationships is it doesn't work unless you work at it. It's hard going out with a girl or going out with a guy. It's hard. You just have to commit. You have to commit in life, in business, and getting up the kids. And I was in the middle of Live Aid in '85. I was scared stiff. I was talking to Thatcher and she was asking me to come into number 10. I cycled in with my dog in the basket in front because I thought that'll break the ice. It'll either break the ice or she'll strangle it. And she asked me in at night and she'd get me a whiskey from the kitchen. I mean, weird, but there you go. And she was very intellectually curious. She didn't know about Africa, wasn't interested, but she wanted the argument. And it was good because we got a lot of things from that government. And I was scared of this, that I wasn't able to do this. I was a rock and roll singer. And I'd get onto the Sun and ask to speak to Rupert Murdoch, and next minute there was this Australian on the line. And it was frightening. I thought I'd overreached. And I was frightened on the day that people wouldn't show up and the satellites would collapse and that nobody would give any money. And the night before the concert, obviously I couldn't sleep, and I'd heard about cold sweat, but I'd never experienced it. And Paula had put towels underneath the sheet because I was sweating with fear. Because the failure would have been grotesque, particularly for those in whose name we were all doing this, and the personal failure would have been unbearable.